All right, all right. Good to go? Yeah, good to go. Awesome. All right, all right. Hello, everyone. How are we doing today? Good. Awesome. Awesome. I love to hear it. Yeah, welcome to DevX. Great crowd. I'm loving the vibe. So, I just want to quickly go over what we're about. A little quick explanation of what DevX means. It means developers by San Diego. It's a very simple concept. We're all about you. That's basically it. We're about developers, people who are interested in development, people who are learning. Our goal is to enable you to become the best developer you can be. So, and yeah, we do that all here in San Diego. Our strategy is to connect developers together at any skill level, inspire you or inspire each other by giving you a platform to voice your ideas like this, right? This stage, and build the next big thing through collaboration, hopefully. A little bit about our events. This is the weekend function event that you're at here. We do this the third Saturday of every month, so monthly. We try to keep it very consistent, and this has kind of been where everybody connects up. We're also doing a new set of events throughout the county called co-routines. We do this on Fridays. It's a full day event where we meet up at like either coffee shops. We just had one yesterday. That was at a co-working space hosted by Answer in Kearney Mesa. That was a lot of fun. So we try to just give you a space for you guys to meet up and connect, have personal connections and things like that. That one's a lot of fun, so check us out on there. We also had a really awesome event this year called Claw Club. Who was here for that? Yeah, cool. Good show of hands. That was a really exciting one. We had like 280 RSVPs. I think we had to shut the door and stop people from coming in because it filled this place up. Yeah, we were just cooking each other up with our Wi-Fi. But the whole goal there was to have a workshop event to teach people how to get set up with their OpenClaw. Who knows about OpenClaw? Cool. A good show of hands. We have some material regarding that today. This is TBD because we don't know when or how we're going to do this again and what the format will be. We definitely need a bigger space, so stay tuned for that. Shout out to our volunteers here. Big hand of applause. They make this thing happen. I'm not going to name all names because it's also not complete. We're missing one. Tristan, where are you at? Tristan, new original co-founder of DevX, comes back as a volunteer. He's going to be helping out. You'll see his face on here as well inside of the group. So yeah, big thanks to you guys. As well as we are growing quite rapidly. A lot of interest in DEVxSD, what we're doing, new venues, new spaces. So we are looking for volunteers. If you are interested in being a face for a community and the tech space here in San Diego, this is a great opportunity for you to get yourself out there and boost your developer resume or your career, and just share with others and just be around other developers. It's a great opportunity for that as well. So if this is something that interests you, come talk to me. I'll love to figure something out. So yeah. Okay, a little bit about where you're at. So this is Edge HQ. Edge is a crypto app here in San Diego that's been based since 2014, I want to say, originally called Airbits. They are a wallet / exchange platform where you can share, or I'm sorry, not share, self-custody your assets. So that's Bitcoin, Ethereum. Who here knows about crypto? Cool. All right, good show of hands. So you already know about all the cryptos. This is where you store it. They are also open source, so if you guys are interested in pointing your OpenClaws or your vibing and you want to get some PRs out there, feel free to check us out there, as well as go to edge.app to learn more information about them. I'm just going to give a quick round of applause about Edge for hosting this space. Next up, our sponsors. So including Edge for hosting the space, we have a sponsor today. Keith, I would like to invite up to talk a little bit more about Hired Coach and what he's doing there, and also a quick round of applause for thanking him for sponsoring this event today. So,
thank you. So I'm a local dev as well. I've attended several DevX events. I've been here hawking open source projects and all that. I'm a local dev who's also trying to do his own startup, and that's Hired Coach, mostly because I tried to do the whole job hunt thing, and I don't know if you know this, but it kind of sucks right now. You're sending hundreds of resumes into the void. AI things are reading your applications, and no human ever sees your resume. And then when you do get that interview for that job you really want, and you're really excited for it, you realize you're like me, and you're socially anxious and terrible at interviewing. And that's kind of why I built out these tools originally for me, and I realized that they're kind of useful, so I decided to do a startup around it. This will basically research your industry and ask you very pointed questions that you are going to get asked likely in your interviews. Several of my users have already reported that despite being in very difficult fields, biotech, where you need a PhD to even get into the door, they're getting asked exactly the same questions that my agents are asking them during their practice interviews. So if you see a flyer around here, feel free to grab it. It gives you a free week of premium. There's also a great, very generous free tier. Also, if it has been rough for you and the economy is rough, job hunt is rough right now. If it's particularly rough and you can't do a month of premium, just email me directly and just tell me what you can do, including free. I'll make it happen. Just want to be able to help people in the area. So check it out and let me know if there's anything that you have feedback-wise. Thank you.
awesome stuff. Yeah, I really appreciate you, Keith. Yeah, definitely check out Hired Coach. I'll be doing that myself as well. Quick note about our facilities. If you're wanting to get on the Wi-Fi, our Wi-Fi SSID is Edge Guest, as well as the password is I like big bits. We've tried to change it, but anyway, it still is that. Restrooms are at the door on the left, all the way down the hall. You can't miss them. If there's a door code needed, which isn't always the case, 1595. Okay. Our agenda today, we got our speaker presentations starting here. We're running a little bit late, but that should be okay. We got 2 speakers today. As we end the speaker talks around 2, we'll give a quick opportunity for the community to do announcements. Stand up on stage. That's an opportunity for you to say, hey, why you're here, what you're interested in, really connect with a larger community and give you guys a venue to do that. That should take about 15 minutes. And then we get to a networking/build session. If you guys brought your laptops, feel free to post up, do some cool stuff with each other. Or if you want to keep hanging out, networking, feel free to do that as well. We close the doors around 4, so kind of a hard stop, but not too hard. So, but if we want to get out here right away, we'll kick you out. So don't worry about that. Here are our speakers for today. We do have Keith doing a talk about micro VMs, a couple of products surrounding that. So I'm really excited to hear more from Keith on that, as well as AJ will be doing a talk on NanoClaw. Who here has heard about NanoClaw? Any of you? Okay, cool. So a little bit details on why that's interesting and hopefully some insightful information there as well as an alternative to OpenClaw. So with that said, I'd like to welcome Keith back up to the stage as our first speaker. Quick round of applause for Keith.
All right. Able to hear me in the back? We're good? Awesome. Am I too loud and annoying in the back? No? Okay. Give me a second just to hook this up. It is a Linux laptop, so it's like 50-50 shot this is going to work.
You can fix it yourself.
Oh, I could. That'll be a great 10-minute presentation. I actually just started to learn NixOS, and yeah, thank God for AI for that one. 50-50, I said, 50-50. Do you have an HDMI? Do you have HDMI?
I think not. I mean,
It's HDMI box pointing directly into the
yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, let's do that. But be very careful because these things can be finicky.
yeah, I run a ThinkPad from 2018. So I don't have a lot of these new fancy features. Yeah, it's going to outlive me. You were right. Though that's not saying much if you look at my health. All right. So I know I just did the whole advertisement thing for Hired Coach, but I'm also, like I said, a dev. It's very sad for me to say this, but I've been a dev for closer to 2 decades than 1. So that sounds a little sad, but I'm just a guy who really likes to build things, and I'm nervous about this presentation because last time I presented something, I had like 100 examples built out for it. It was completely done, super well tested. This is super alpha. I'm not doing any live coding today because it would almost certainly crash and burn, but I can confirm that I have tested around a lot of it and I've been playing with it locally, and a lot of this does work, but a lot of it is not done. So this is super alpha preview, San Diego dev only sneak peek of what I'm looking at. So I'm going to be talking about Firecracker, which is not my work. That's done by people much better than me. And I'll be talking about Pop Rocks, which is my attempt to utilize that and take some credit. So first, who the heck am I? Yeah, I'm someone that stood up around you before, but I actually talk a lot about tech online. Halfshell.ai. You can also find me in the Discord at Halfshell. I write a lot about AI, tech, tools as well. Last thing I wrote, I believe, was about the Just Command Line Runner and how I love that. But I also do presentations about how AI works on the low level down to the mathematics. This is usually done through other organizations, through research paper clubs. Actually, show of hands, has anyone been to the paper clubs before? We got 2 people. Okay, great. 3. So in the future, do keep an ear to the ground for that if you want to know how AI works at the lowest possible levels. And of course, like I said earlier, I did the startup. I was told I was going to be last, so I thought there'd be a delay and it wouldn't be that obtuse that I'm throwing that name out again. I just build things and am very much a technologist. So as I was saying, I like to make stuff. So some of the things that I make range the gamut from robotic computer vision systems, since I am actually a person with a robotics degree. Literally, art and tech I mix together. I've created art displays that have traveled the world, mostly for marketing purposes to get paid for it, but I've done that. I do a lot of weird hardware and physical interaction with code. Not as much anymore, sadly, but I used to. I've produced something called Arcane, which I gave a presentation about a year ago. That is actually what powers Hired Coach and a lot of my AI agents. I'm in the process of working on Gotonomy, which is a Golang version of agentic frameworks, incorporating everything I've learned over time building Arcane and working with the ARC prize. Li5equation.com basically takes a mathematic formula and then whatever context you can give it, and explains every little bit relating back to the physical world of what's explaining. I use this to figure out what the hell I'm reading in research papers, because after reading hundreds of them, I'm still clueless half the time. It's been super useful. But yeah, you could go to Halfshell on my GitHub and find all kinds of things that build. And the reason I bring this up is that there's a lot of things that I make that people are like, well, why'd you make that? It's not always about money. Sometimes it's just about the curiosity thing. This started as an abstract project with such a weird use case. I'm not even going to bring it up, but it ended up being useful for another use case, which we'll talk about later. So in order to talk about this, I need to make sure that first we're at like the same level of understanding of what the heck we're working with Firecracker and what I mean by micro VM. In order to understand that, first I want to make sure everyone's on the same page of what I mean when I say kernel. You probably hear this term all the time. I didn't know what it was for the first few years of my career, even though it sounded super fancy and technical. But basically, the kernel is just the piece of software that sits between the programs that you're running and the hardware. It kind of acts as a interaction layer so you can talk to it and not have to wondering about how to talk to Corsair memory or how to talk to a keyboard. It's just kind of provided for you in the kernel. That's super important. It's made by a whole handful of people. We just use them all the time. The reason this is important is because this guy here kind of controls everything. And as a result, you want that to be as secure as possible. And that's where we get into stuff like containerization and virtual machines. So containers, everybody here has worked with containers, right? Everybody here has worked with Docker, that's famous. Podman and Containerd are other popular ones that you can see in Kubernetes. But containers basically play off the idea of we're doing process isolation using namespaces and C groups. And what this does is basically says you have your host operating system, which is your kernel and everything, and you have Docker on top of that, and then individual containers that are isolated through those namespaces and C groups. Now this is super great because it's lightweight. You can run dozens or hundreds of containers depending on what you're doing on a singular system, and it allows you to kind of get these duplicated environments up really quick, and that's why we love them for any kind of cloud infrastructure or local dev. And they start up quickly and they don't use resources that heavily because we're just utilizing the base kernel of the system. Now the problem with this is it's a much weaker isolation. It's not easy to break out of a container, but it's been done and done repeatedly, and it'll continue to be done in the future simply because exploits exist. Once you exploit and get out of a container, you're basically at kernel level and every single one of these is now exploited. This is not great if you're running containers that aren't your native code and you might not necessarily know what's on them. Now, is there another way? Yeah, it was actually more popular before containers, and that is virtual machines. Now, everybody here has probably worked with at least one of these. There's dozens more of these. What this basically does, it says it's going to utilize something called a hypervisor, where it's basically going to emulate access to the infrastructure. And this chart shows one kind of style where the hypervisor can sit on top of the host operating system. When you're dealing with servers, you can actually have a hypervisor run directly on the infrastructure and not have the host operating system. So just be aware of that if you see that differently in other charts. The big thing here is that these apps, let's assume VMC is a bad guy. I'm running that code locally, and I want all these things isolated. If VMC is a bad guy and tries to break out, he not only has to break out of whatever code he has here, he has to break out of the kernel and the hypervisor as well. And that's difficult because you're actually talking now about sign drivers and things built into the hardware itself to ensure that this code is being executed completely isolated. So you can't actually, well, I'm not saying you can't do it, but it's extremely difficult. There have been exploits, but they are very hard to do and rare and quickly patched when possible. Now this gives you great isolation, but the reason we're not all running virtual machines is because it's very slow and very heavy. You're literally emulating an entire computer in order to run these programs. So as a result, everything you do is going to be taking massive amount of resources on your computers. That works if you really want the security, but you're going to take a major hit in the actual capability of it. So then what are micro VMs? Is it just like a small tiny image that you can install? Well, kind of yeah and kind of no. So this is basically a very lightweight way of doing virtual machine isolation where we get all the benefits from the isolation that we get from the virtual machines, but we kind of try our best to keep it lightweight and get the startup and moderate resource usage that we would get from a container. So it's kind of best of both worlds with some slight hits. And the way that a lot of people are using micro VMs right now is Firecracker. Now, who has heard of Firecracker before? 2, 3 people? Okay. Don't worry, we'll cover it. So basically, the idea is that we're using something called a minimal KVM or kernel virtual machine hypervisor, and we are running separate kernels that basically talk to the operating system and then to the actual hardware that you have so that we have that increased isolation. But we're not doing full-on resource virtualization all the way through. And not only are we not doing that, we're also pulling a lot of stuff out. We're basically saying, okay, we're going to accept the fact that this is going to be a Linux kernel only. We're not going to be doing Windows or Mac. We're not going to have any kind of support for GUIs, graphical stacks, support no legacy devices, no general purpose stuff. We're going to pull out as much as possible so this thing has a minimal surface for running and thus exploit, and it's minimal on resource usage. Now, this is great because it enables you to basically run dozens and dozens of micro VMs onto a system where you could only run 2 or 3 VMs tops, or you could run like 2, 3 dozen containers but not get the isolation. So where is it used? Well, it's developed at Amazon and it specifically powers AWS Lambda and Fargate, which is the containerized version of Lambda. Cloudflare Workers originally was on Wasm WebAssembly workers. They're actually in the process of moving over to Firecracker right now. And if you use FlyIO, those machine workers that you're firing up, those are Firecracker VMs. You can actually see it in the logs, so saying, oh, I'm booting up Firecracker, kernel is ready, and then it moves on to your app. So if you use FlyIO, you're using it as well. There's several other services out there that use it. It's a very powerful piece of tech that Amazon takes care of. Now, the way this works is it's doing all the micro VM stuff. They pulled out all the BIOS, PCI. There's no emulation whatsoever that you actually need to do. You just basically have this isolated kernel that's highly secure. And then they have a whole bunch of niceties in there like jailers, which I'm not going to get into today. But essentially, think of it as an operating system with optionally a drive/volume and optionally a network. And that's it. And sometimes that's all you need. So enter PopRocks. Now I want to be able to deploy and work with micro VMs easily. And that's going to create a question of why, which we'll cover in a sec. But the general goal is I want it to be dead simple from someone from the perspective of not understanding the entire stack of Firecracker, just understanding that I want a virtual machine that's a micro VM with network and storage and done. How do I go from that want to a directly launched Firecracker micro VM? And how do I do it in code that I'm going to be running on a client system? That's the hint for the why I'm doing this, by the way. But why did I choose Golang is the first question I think a lot of people are going to ask. Who here programs in Go? All right, 4 of us. That is 3 more than I expected. Great. If you haven't worked with Golang, it's a fantastic language. It's garbage collected, so you don't have to worry about a lot of stuff that you worry about in Rust or C, C++. And it is very lightweight, and one of the nicest things about Golang is that when you build your app, you actually build a portable version of it that runs on that processor, flat, full out. Meaning you don't have to go through Python dependency or node module hell in order to get this code to run on someone else's system. You literally hand them a 30 meg binary and you're done. You've deployed your app. And it's super nice. It also does a lot of things about asynchronous code very well. I do highly recommend you look into it if you're doing any kind of background work. And it runs almost anywhere, assuming that you're not using any operating specific attributes or framework plugins, or you're doing something like, let's say, going into additional stuff, additional like operating system programs, trying to do that. So I wanted to make client-side micro VMs super isolated and secure, make it easy to limit and control the network. That has been a headache so far, but I'm getting there. And actually allow these programs and micro VMs to have secrets injected into them so that the code running on them, if they're from someone else, arbitrary code from someone else, they can't access your secrets, yet they can get the benefits of the connections. And I want to do this from the perspective of an app developer's thing. So this way, if you're generating code that you want other people to run on their computer, they're going to be able to use this safely. So this is basically how I picture Pop Rocks being utilized, where we have, I made a mistake in the title of that, which completely spoils one of the things, or I jumped 2 slides. I jumped 2 slides. Okay, so you have your app. Who knows what that could be? Which is basically your built Golang app entirely. It's an executable. You have different section and modules within it that takes care of your config, your different services that it connects to, and your secrets. PopRocks basically handles the volume management, the life cycle of the micro VMs, and the optional network and firewall system, such that these apps can actually go through this in order to communicate with these. Now, I was going to ask all cleverly, what would be really useful with this, or what would this really be useful for? And then someone was supposed to figure it out and we'd be all surprised. But yes, it's for AI agents. This is where I realized it was super useful. We have these super powerful tools, but we're also all reading horror stories where an agent maybe leaks some secrets, maybe does a whole bunch of stuff it shouldn't do, or starts installing things it shouldn't want to. We've seen a lot of exploits already where an agent installs a library that was advertised to do one thing, but it didn't check over it like a developer should, because I know we all do that here. And then all of a sudden they have a giant worm on their machine and they're losing all their info, or they're running crypto mining agents. Not ideal. So my goal here is to basically make it so that someone building a nice distributable agent can simply plug in Pop Rocks to run arbitrary other people's agents codes, limiting their access to whether or not they're allowed to the internet. And if they are allowed to the internet, what services are they allowed to access? And if they're accessing services like, say, Claude for the actual model, for the model provider, I want to inject the secrets right into the rub requests like a man-in-the-middle attack would, and basically feed it back so that these guys never see my keys. So if they try to exfiltrate data they shouldn't, well, they're not allowed to contact anything. And what they are allowed to contact is getting secrets injected into it, so it's just limited to that. Or if this agent here decides to download a virus that's going to steal all my credit card info, well, that's limited to a volume that's completely isolated from everything else and is completely ephemeral. So you don't have to worry about that. So that's kind of the goal of where I'm going with this. This is where I'm taking it. Parts of this is done, like the volume management, the lifecycle stuff. The network firewall is working as of 1 a.m. last night, but in progress, so you won't see it on the repo quite yet. But if you're interested in playing with it, let me know. I'm actually playing with a potential redo on that. But here's an example of it running as an actual possible service, right? So if we said PopRocks was kind of this integration layer here, PopRocks would go ahead and create different volumes that are completely isolated, which you can optionally feed files to and fro. It would hand them off, either read-write or read-only to these agents, which are completely ephemeral. And then each one of these is a separate VM that are unaware of the others. They can optionally have internet access there. You can feed them services and secrets. And this is basically the whole idea. I just want it to be really easy for you to produce client-side code that can run arbitrary code as safely as possible without leaking your information so that you can be comfortable that your users are safe. So this is kind of just a sum of a lot of what I've said so far. But the big thing is I really want packageable, single, portable binaries. And the reason for that is because Python is great. I hired coaches entirely written in Python. I've written thousands and thousands of apps in Python over the years for different companies. I can't stand Python. Delivering a Python application is an exercise in how patient can you be as a person. The same thing for JavaScript is that we have all these dependencies that are getting compiled together into multiple gig executables when really you just need a couple megs in order to deliver the functionality of your app. Golang is a much cleaner experience for that, and I'm hoping that it catches on more for programs. You probably run a lot of Golang programs in your terminals because a lot of CLIs are programmed in it because it's just so nice to work with. I want these agents to be installable by the average person, still be secure, and not require, our level of expertise to figure out how to install it or how to update the various dependencies that you have. So what's done, as I was saying before, lifecycle control, volume control. Basic network asterisk, that's the asterisk is that I did it last night and it's there. This one's interesting. You can actually get multi-gigabit serial connections through, so you can create functional APIs. This is how Amazon passes the input from your AWS Lambda call into the VM in a secure way. I'm going to actually dress that up in such a way that you can define unique interfaces so it can kind of present itself as a program itself with its own API interface internally on your machine and be able to transfer gigabits on the API socket. Coming, but the basics of that is already there. But I'm working on more advanced network filtering because again, I want to basically make it so that you can say, yeah, you're allowed to contact Claude and that's it. Kind of works now, I want to get better on it. And then also because Firecracker only runs in Linux, I'm going to be making an automated VM that wraps it so you can run on like Mac and Windows as well. So as you build this, it'll go ahead and include the VM locally. So to run a VM, to run the micro VMs, which means you get all the benefits of this with a slight resource hit on something like Windows or Mac. And then other things that I'm going to be adding, like for instance, given a container, pass it over to this program and it'll automatically produce the Firecracker VM to run it so that you can basically containerize and produce in a PopRock style any kind of application you want. So that's all I've got. If you're interested in any way to like follow this, that's the QR code, that's the link to it. If you just want to see me slowly go insane as I try to get this out, feel free. If you want to contribute, that's great. I'm always looking for more stuff. This is completely open source and I'm happy to coordinate with people. So you can reach out to me on the Discord for that. So any questions? Yeah.
The virtual machine that you're wrapping it in is that QEMU?
So I'm probably going to end up using QEMU for the Kata containers, yes. Or Kata style VM containers, yes.
Can you also repeat the question for?
Oh, yeah, sure. So he's asking if I'm using QEMU for the VM for the feature I mentioned here. And the answer is probably yes. That was the plan going in. I just haven't written it yet. I'm also open to other suggestions if there are, because I want to minimize the amount of resources that uses so that I just get the Firecracker. Because the goal is basically just get to the point that we can run Firecracker and then run sub agents on that. So, yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
So what do startup times look like for something like this? So like I know virtual machines it's not needed or that's how you configure Docker containers.
So,
What does it look like in one of these?
So typically with a container, you're looking at around 10 milliseconds. Now this is defining startup time. Like if we're defining startup time to time that it accepts an API request.
I want to use it, yes, exactly.
Yeah, sure.
Use a serverless
So let's just do, say you have a simple API that you wrap into. So if you did a container, you're probably looking at around 10 to 50 milliseconds. If you're looking at a virtual machine, you're looking at about basically 5-ish seconds to 30 seconds, depending on the weight of the application you're doing, how much startup it has to do, and what the resources are. With a micro VM, you're looking at about 100 milliseconds to 200 milliseconds. So yeah, we're twice as slow as the container, but we are still an order of magnitude faster than a base VM. And with that isolation, that's well worth that little bit of hit. This is also why Amazon tells you, like, yeah, you're going to occasionally find a full quarter-second delay if no one's hit your AWS LAN endpoint in a while. It's because they're booting the Firecracker.
Configuring it is kind of like creating a Docker file, or how do you see it configured?
So it's actually talking to the Firecracker daemon to tell it what you want in terms of configuration and settings. I'm trying to abstract all that away to the point that it's going to be down to, here's a YAML file, or here's a set of code to programmatically create it, and then just go and create it exactly how I specified. I want to get it to the point that not just the volumes being attached are controlled, but just the entire network firewall rules. So you could say, yeah, I want a VM with this much volume that I'm going to keep over time, allow it to read write to it, and it's allowed to contact these external services only. And it'll go and do that. Anything else? Okay. Anybody else?
So is this like faster than using like a specific operating system like Proxmox and then using LXC containers?
Is it faster? No. So I think the question or the comparison is not the actual question. I think, or the way to think about it is more that I am building this to build applications that can run on your average client's laptop, whereas you're talking about something more on like the infrastructure side where you're deploying clouds. Do not use this for cloud infrastructure or big business deployments. Use this for building an application that you're going to send to someone who likes computers but doesn't know how to program, right? This is for building client-facing applications. Yeah?
Just to follow to this question, since you mentioned Proxmox, Proxmox uses KVM, which uses Keyloop as,
Yeah, and it's the very similar technologies being powered here. This is a KVM style virtual machine, but it's so stripped down that it's just a little bit faster, much less resource intensive. Anything else? All right, thank you.
I had one question actually. What's your experience so far using it with different agents? You mentioned OpenClaw on there. How well is it performing with things like OpenClaw? Resource-wise, are you needing 2x or 3x, or what kind of like resource impact do you need to run something like OpenClaw? I know that's a little bit heavier than some of the other ones.
So I've only ran it with test micro VMs right now because I'm still building out the core of it. But you typically see on a micro VM anywhere from 10 to 15% resource hit, somewhere along there. It depends entirely on what you're doing. Again, remember that you're limited on your devices, so you're not doing this to build out a full computer. You're doing this to have the minimal possible surface value. So it's basically just a small tax on top of the app that you're trying to run and wrap. Now, there are exceptions to that based off what you're trying to wrap and what it's trying to do, but generally 10-ish%.
I'll tack on to that. Assuming you're using a modern CPU which supports either Intel's DEVxSD or AMD's SVM, the performance difference between pure hardware and virtual is generally order of 1%.
Yeah. So if you actually do have a more modern PC. Now, I will say one thing is modern M4, M5, or M series Macs, I believe there are some changes to how they handle hypervisors. I am not a Mac user, so I have read that there is some issues with Firecracker on that. I have not confirmed because I don't own any products to test that on. But if you contribute and you have it and you want to contribute, like, yeah, let's test it. Any other questions? All right, thank you
Awesome
very much,
stuff.
everybody.
Thank you, Keith. Great stuff. Thanks again. Cool. All right. Speaking of VMs and agents, next up we have AJ doing a presentation on NanoClaw, going into a little bit detail onto that. So everyone give a warm welcome to AJ to the stage.
Ooh, I hear something. Is that me?
Yeah, it's you.
Very good. Oh, a little bit of fun sounds. Keith, thank you. That was awesome. And also thank you for sponsoring. Again, Hired Coach, guys.
Hired Coach! Thank you, Hired Coach!
Does that just immediately work when I do that? Oh, I think it's working, guys. Good. Okay, good. Hello. Today, we're talking about NanoClaw, the Claude native claw. And my speaker notes are where, actually? Oh, wow. They're there. Okay. Anyways, this is the GitHub star graph for a couple of the claws that have come out recently. Obviously, OpenClaw is a big blue one. It just goes up. And these are some other ones. There's Iron Claw, Pico Claw, Zero Claw, and Nano Claw, which we're going to talk a little bit about today. So just a few weeks ago, we had a OpenClaw SD weekend. How many of you guys came out for that? Woo. Clapping, right? Yeah. It was crazy. It's crazy that in just like a few weeks, like middle February, I don't know, it went from like 0 stars to 300. Absolutely insane. It's more than Linux, more than, actually, what are some other popular repositories? React, more than React. Oh, more than Svelte, that's true. I guess that's true. And it inspired all these spin-offs that I just mentioned, Ironclaw, PicoClaw, ZeroClaw, NanoClaw, and whatnot. The people have spoken. They want a tool that builds software around your life, not having to pick a software tool and build your life around it. And that's what these claws are giving us. Oh, hi. My name is AJ Caldwell, and I make things with text. I'm one of the volunteers around here, and I am glad that you guys came. First off, the claw. I said claw like 10 times already, but what am I talking about? A claw is an AI agent that acts like an actual assistant, like a real person, maybe. It communicates in humanish channels, so Discord, iMessage, WhatsApp. It retains memory over time, think markdown files. And it runs scheduled tasks, think cron jobs. It also does actual work, so make your app, summarize your agenda at 9 a.m., maybe generate your slides, all good things. So my claw. As you know, the hype cycle was like going, I looked around and I was most attracted to one of those claws I listed out, NanoClaw. For, I guess, 2 reasons. One, I have a software background, so the idea of like a claw, which we'll get into, that's built as a very small core, about 4,000 lines, something I could read and understand was really attractive to me. And part 2, I have an Anthropic sub, and apparently it's made off of Cloud Code, so that's a good fit. And maybe it could be your claw. For those already deep into lobster lore, you could use NanoClaw and gain some mental models by reading the code base and kind of configuring it. And for the claw curious, with an Anthropic sub, yes, NanoClaw runs on Cloud Code, so you could leverage something you already got. You're already in the ecosystem. So I've been talking about NanoClaw, but specifically, what makes NanoClaw different than these other claw stuff? It's defined by 3 characteristics. One, it's embracing AI nativity. So there's no dashboards, no wizards. Claude handles the setup, the debugging, customization when you want to add a channel or a new feature. It's architected for security. So by its design, That was like the reason it was made. The author saw OpenClaw and was like, how can we make this more just safe to put on my computer? And it's also betting on Anthropic's harness. So if you already use Cloud Code, this is great for you. AI nativity. What do I mean by that? Well, one, it's skill-based. So when you want to start your NanoCloud journey, you clone the repo, open up Claude code, and then run /setup as a skill. That's how you do it. That's how you get started. And it'll guide you through the process of, like, I guess, configuring your initial setup. So for updates, if you want to do updates, it's /updates. /debug is another skill in case you need a debug. No dashboard. So there's no dashboard. So OpenClaw has this big, very, very pretty dashboard you can access. If you want to know what's going on with your NanoClaw install, you just kind of talk to it. Or maybe have it generate a dashboard for you. Also, the core is only extended as far as your desires. So if you want to add a new channel, like Discord or WhatsApp or any of the other ways people talk to each other, it's a skill, a /command. Or do something cool, like use Apple containers instead of Docker containers, or talk to your cloud. It's all skill-based. So that's AI nativity, which sounds like a Jesus thing, but it's not. Security. So NanoClaw is architected for security. It is run in a bunch of containers. So you have an agent, and it has its container, and it has access to the host a little bit with directories that you pre-configured. The agents are isolated from each other. And when you want to use pass in secrets or something to access some service, or I guess Anthropic sub itself, secrets are shadowed. So so the container itself, what's inside the container, never sees your secrets. And yeah, agents are limited to their own virtual machine. And I've already said, but 4,000 lines. You can read it in one sitting over a cup of coffee, or you can have your agent look over it and have it fit in its nice, less than 100K context window. Security. Third part, betting on Anthropic's harness. So OpenClaw runs on Pi. It's like a really minimal, really tiny core that's underneath OpenClaw. That means that OpenClaw has to do a bunch of kind of stuff to make it, well, they really just have to put more work into making it this nice agent you talk to and interact with. Meanwhile, NanoClaw, it's really just Claude at the end of the day, which is good for a couple reasons. One, it keeps in line with their terms of service. You can use NanoClaw and use a sub and not get, banned or whatever. That's so sad. And of course, you can leverage Cloud Code's frontier features as they come out, e.g. swarms. You can do that in NanoClaw, have a bunch of sub-agents work for you. And also, remote control with Cloud Code works with NanoClaw. So you can pull out your phone, pull out the Anthropic app, and be like, hey, NanoClaw, order me some pizza. That's a bad example, but you get it. Finally, So 2 days ago, OpenCode, another kind of agentic tool, merged a change to remove Anthropic's providers from their code base. Because a month before, Anthropic was like, hey, we're going to sue you. So you better get on this. And additionally, that same day, OpenCode broke because Anthropic just changed something in their backend. And everyone was like on Discord trying to figure out how to get their subs working again. I may have been one of those people. It was okay. So yeah, NanoCloud doesn't have that problem. Built on Cloud Code, and therefore in line with Anthropic's terms of service and intentions. Finally, landing the lobster. So software is my background, so I'm comfortable thinking in code. And that's why I chose NanoClaw out of all the claws. So I could pick up new mental models without getting lost. But don't take my word for it. Kaparthi, Lord of Vibe Coding, coiner of the term, released a tweet to which I didn't put the screenshot in for, that he was like, NanoClaw, that was my fave. Anyways, you can try it out. So all you have to do is fork, clone, change the directory into the folder, run Claude, and then setup. And there you are. That's how you start your NanoCloud journey. You can go to nanocloud.dev or the GitHub site, that's too long to say, and have a good time. Thank you. 11 minutes.
Any questions for AJ on NanoClaw?
Keith.
Yes.
So what's the coolest thing your NanoClaw has done?
Please repeat the question.
Please repeat the question. The coolest, oh wait, I don't need to hold it. Really, the coolest thing that's done is kind of boring, which is keeping a spreadsheet up to date about coffee shops in San Diego. But it still feels nice.
It's really hard though.
It is hard,
Yeah.
my man.
Question over here.
Does it go out and find the information for you? For the spreadsheet, it does all that for you and updates the spreadsheet.
We will message it.
Oh, got it.
And it will, well, okay, so there's some sources that we'll configure, a pre-existing list, and it'll pull data from those. But then it'll look through the existing table and then kind of check through each source, like website or Yelp or whatever, and then see if anything changed.
Just wondering, to what extent is it, so like a lot of tools have also been built on OpenClaw, for example, like mission control, so you got like interfaces to see how all agents, all tasks are doing. To what extent is NanoClaw compatible with those tools that have already come out, or is it like, completely separate?
You said there's a tool that people use called.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So there's for example, also interfaces built on top of OpenClaw. For example, one mission control where you get like this big Kanban board. You can put new things on it. You see everything that your agents are doing. I was just wondering, to what extent do you think that NanoClaw is compatible with stuff that has been built on OpenClaw? With other words, if I'm running an OpenClaw configuration with lots of stuff that I got from the community, would it be easy to port, do you think, to NanoClaw, or would that be a whole lot of work?
It would be a good time, but yes, it would be a lot of work.
Could you just have your claw do the port?
You're right.
Really?
It's a lot of work for Claude.
Well, you have a max subscription, right?
Oh boy.
Question over here.
How quickly are you hitting like usage limits? And that I guess that's my main concern with Cloud Code is always I'm hitting usage limits quite frequently.
For me, I am not. I guess I just use the bare minimum model that I need. And often it's Haiku's enough.
Are you on max?
I am on the $100 plan. That's true. That's probably an important note.
Any other questions? I do have a question myself.
Tell me, Sam.
This may or may not be something you do know the answer to, but with OpenClaw, they have this idea of events and webhooks as ways in which to prompt your agent outside of scheduled routine cadences, right? So does NanoClaw depend entirely on Claude Code's features when it comes to cron jobs and the scheduled times in which you can prompt, or does it add in addition to what Claude CLI comes with, things like webhooks or events, like internal events such as hooks?
The scheduled tasks are something built on top of Cloud Code.
Okay, but nothing as far as like external gateway webhooks or anything like that?
Nah, man.
Okay.
But you can do it with Claude.
What about adding Discord then? What does that do?
Oh, what does adding Discord do?
If it doesn't use an external webhook or anything.
I see what we're talking about now. Sorry, I was confused. You can add Discord. It will call webhook, and you will be able to talk to your bot.
Okay, that's good. Another question back here.
So in the past week, we've seen, I mean, Anthropic, like always, is like pumping out features. It's kind of crazy. But the past week, they had this patch. They have some stuff related to running cron jobs. They have some stuff, like they're clearly aiming at reproducing a lot of the functionality people like in OpenClaw, right? How does this, like, how does NanoClaw see that, right? Because like if it's running everything, like the whole thing about OpenClaw is like, you know, I'm running my own agents and I can switch the provider at the bottom. I'm using Codex or using Olama locally or switching to whatever. And then with NanoClaw, as far as I'm understanding, it's all Anthropic, right? Like full-blown Anthropic harness. But Anthropic is like sort of aiming at the OpenClaw use case. Like what's the philosophy there? Like if, you know, they come in and
Sure. The philosophy is to shove as much complexity as possible down to Anthropic and then add the nice cherries on top.
And if they reproduce everything, then...
Great.
Okay.
I guess one thing you could bet on is NanoClaw will always be open source, right?
I guess.
It's free and open source.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions for AJ? Okay, awesome. Well, thanks so much, AJ. Awesome stuff. Do wonder what comes after the claw, you know? But let's give one final round of applause to both of our speakers today. Awesome material. I didn't know if AJ kind of touched on the whole containerization, but I'm curious of how that can tie in with some of the other material with Pop Rock. So cool parallels there. But final thing I'd like to share with everyone who might be new to DevX. We do have a awesome website built by the community here at DEVxSD.network. We'd like to encourage everyone to check it out. This is a great place in which you can join and maintain some connection with the community apart from the in-person events. So some of the cool things you can do is you can get yourself a name tag, which is just a simple profile for you. Put your information on there, such as your profile photo, your name, your interests, where you work, and that just gives you presence within the space and say, hey, I'm a part of this community, and I'd like to join others as well. That also allows you quick access to our talk forum. If you're interested in giving a talk, you feel like you're inspired or you want to inspire others, this is a great place for you to do that. So you can go ahead, get your profile, and then submit a talk form, and then hopefully get up on stage here and share some cool stuff that you are very interested. Maybe that's another claw, maybe that's some other cool technology. We have a very open approval process. So we just talk to you and say, hey, what are you interested in? How can we help you? We're really about giving you a voice. So it's also where we have all of our connections. So Discord is our main kind of hub in which you can kind of stay connected with other people, ask questions. We also have we have at least one dedicated OpenClaw on there that you can talk to and chat up. He's very friendly. His name is DClaw. But apart from all that fun, we also have our LinkedIn, which we encourage you to check out. If you're more on the professional front trying to find jobs, definitely connect here because this could loop you into our events and great opportunities there. So definitely check us out on LinkedIn. We do have an X and a YouTube. We are streaming live right now to YouTube. YouTube's going to be a great resource to check out the previous talks and see some of the material maybe you've missed. So check us out there as well. And then last but definitely not least, our event calendar is also on there. We mainly host on Luma, so you can check us out, LU.ma/DEVx Network. So that's where all of our events are. But of course, we have the events on our website too, you can see there. We posted in other places. You might see EventShip. Who uses EventShip? Couple of hands. So it's a San Diego local type of platform. We also are on meetup.com. And yeah, generally we're advertising everywhere. But Luma is our main place. I just want to say thank you guys for coming and attending and listening to our speakers. This material's like definitely hard to put together. So I appreciate you guys and I appreciate your attention. And I really think that's all I got to say. Thank you guys for showing up. And yeah, scan the QR code to check out DEVx.network and have fun for the rest of the event. Oh, right. I think my slides did actually miss or omit a key part of our agenda, which is a chance for all of you guys to come up on stage and say hi to the community, as well as like announce what you're about, what brought you here, maybe something you're interested in. Perhaps you're even looking for someone in particular that you want to talk to that has a specific specialization, or you're trying to find partnerships there, whatever it may be. Maybe your current Roman Empire, which is like the thing that you can't get off your mind, that you can't stop thinking about, maybe OpenClaw, whatever that may be. Say your interest, quick 15-second intro, and then yeah, that gives you a chance to connect with the community. So any show of hands of announcements that they want to get up on stage and share with the rest of the community? Yeah, come on up stage. Cool.
15-second, right? Okay, that's very fast. All right. Albert from Barcelona. I do an AI speaking infrastructure. New to San Diego. I'm going to be here for 1 month, more or less. So I would love to connect with startups, software engineers. So feel free to talk to me afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Albert. Cool. All right. Anyone else want to introduce themselves or talk about something that they're interested in? Show of hands. Yes.
Hey, I'm Jonathan. And every Tuesday in Oceanside, we have a North County Coders has an event. So it's at 6 p.m. at the Belching Beaver. And yeah, there's probably about 10 of us that are usually there. So if you're in North County and you're looking for a meetup somewhere around there, meet some devs, even if you're not a dev, maybe find someone to work on a project with you or something. You never know. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Jonathan. Anybody else want to come up on stage and say hello? Yes, come on up.
Hi, everyone. I'm Regina. I've been working in the world of marketing agencies for 13 years. I'm working currently on an app that might be a little bit overly ambitious for me. Like the idea for the app, Jonathan's laughing because he helped me with it, but it's maybe 20% vibe coded at this moment. So I feel pretty serious about building this app, and I'm also currently fun employed. And so I was thinking it would be a great idea if I could find, some sort of like marketing position in the world of SaaS. So if anyone knows companies that are looking, I'm interested. And that's that. Hoping to just like sit down and vibe code for the remaining 40 minutes that I have here. Thank you so much. Nice to meet you all.
Thanks, Regina. That sounds cool. Someone else mentioned marketing earlier. I can't quite remember who it was, but that seems to be a trend amongst devs. They want to kind of interact on both disciplines. Anyway, yes, would you like to come up on stage? And again, if anyone wants a quick shout out, feel free to kind of line up. We can knock it out really quickly. So yeah, what was your name?
Hi guys, my name is Anshul. Currently working for a nonprofit based out of the Bay Area. Trying to build an agent to help connect caseworkers, rather let the caseworkers use this tool to help homeless people over there. I'm interested in anyone who has worked on guardrails for input, like validation and stuff, so I'm building that. I am also fun employed, so please let me know. I have a background in software, so if anyone's hiring, happy to chat.
Thank you. All right. Any other announcements that anyone would like to make to the community? Cool. Show of hands. All right. Well, I guess that wraps it up. Yeah. Again, feel free to hang out, vibe code, stay a little bit longer. We are here till roughly about 4, so we got plenty of time to reconnect and talk about some of the things you guys are interested in. So yeah, thanks again so much. I appreciate it.